everyone, so in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make this adorable unicorn keychain. For this you need to know how to chain, how to do a slip knot and how to do a magic ring. If you don't know how to do any of these, I've got videos in my channel where you can quickly learn how to do these and come back and crochet this one. Okay, so for this tutorial, all the yarn I'm going to be using is going to be 4mm thick. I'm going to be using white for the head and pink for the snout. This brown tan colour for the horn. And I'm going to be using these three colours for the hair and flowers on top of the head. For hook, I'm going to be using a 2.5mm hook. A tapestry needle is much easier to sew on the ears, the horn and their hair. For safety eyes, I'm going to be using 8mm. I'm going to be adding a keychain to mine. And I find it's a lot easier when counting your rows to be using a stitch marker. Okay, so first we're going to start with the snout. So we're going to start with our pink or whatever colour you can use for it. And we're going to start it off by making a magic ring with 6 single crochets. If you don't know how to do a magic ring, I have a video in my channel where you can go and learn to do that. Okay, so that's our first round. For round 2, you're going to do an increase into each stitch. So that's 2 single crochets into each of the 6 stitches. And you should have 12 by the end of the round. Okay, so for round 3, we're going to do a single crochet into our first stitch and then an increase into our second stitch. So there's 2 stitches into our next stitch. And we're going to repeat that 5 more times and you should have 18 stitches at the end of round 3. Okay, so now you should have 18 stitches. For the next round, for round 4, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets into our first 2 stitches. And then an increase into our third stitch. Okay, so round 5, we're going to do 3 single crochets into our first 3 stitches, and then an increase into our 4th stitch. Okay, so you should have 30 stitches at the end of that round. Forgot to mention on the last one you should have 24, and you will notice we're going up by 6 stitches each round. Okay, so for round 6 we're going to be doing 4 single crochets into our first 4 stitches. And you're going to be doing an increase into our 5th stitch. Okay, so at the end of this round you should have 36 stitches, and we're going to do our last round of increasing. So you can do 5 single crochets into your first 5 stitches. You can do an increase into our 6th stitch. Okay, so at the end of this round, you should have 42 stitches. Now we're going to do 2 rows of just single crochet with our pink to finish our snout. Make sure you have 42 stitches at the end of both of these rounds. Okay, so before you snip off your yarn, into the next stitch you're going to do a slip knot. And leave a nice amount so you can tie it on to your white yarn. Make sure it's nice and secure. You see it leaves a much flatter seam so there's no cut or uneven break when you switch colours. So now we're going to switch to white. Okay, so switching to our white, we are going to do 42 stitches. And we're just going to tie off these loose ends. Okay, so that's our first 5 stitches of 42. So you're going to count 42 around, so that will be our first row of single crochet in white. So now we've got our first row, so you're going to add your stitch marker now on your 42nd stitch. So that was round 10. Up until round 17, you're just going to do 42 stitches going all the way around. So that's 7 more rows, so you have 8 rows of white in total. Okay, so now that we've done our 8 rows of single crochet, we're going to start decreasing. So for our first row of decrease, you can do 5 single crochets. And you're going to do an invisible decrease into our 6th and 7th stitch. You repeat that 5 more times. Okay, so at the end of that round you should have 36 stitches. For our next round of decreasing, you're going to do 4 single crochets. And an invisible decrease into your 5th and 6th stitch. At the end of the round, you should have a total of 30 stitches. For round 20, we're going to do 3 single crochets. And an invisible decrease. At the end of this round, you should have 24 stitches. Okay, so after that round, I have put my eyes in between the 4th and 5th row of white single crochet, and I have used 8mm safety eyes, and I've put them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches apart from each other. And you want to go and stuff your body, but don't do it so tight that it ends up overflowing, or you might catch your hook on the stuffing. For round 21, we're going to do 2 single crochets, and then do an invisible decrease into our 3rd and 4th stitch. Okay, so at the end of that round, we should have 18 stitches. For round 22, we're going to do 1 single crochet, and then do an invisible decrease into our 2nd and 3rd stitch. And for our final round, we're going to do a regular decrease all the way around. And for our final round, we're just going to do a regular decrease all around. Okay, so now that we've finished making the head, we're going to go and make the ears. Okay, so to start our ear, we're going to start with a magic ring with 6 single crochets. So for round 2, we're going to do 1 single crochet into each of the 6 stitches. Okay, so for round 3, you're going to do 1 single crochet into our first stitch, and then do an increase into our second. Okay, and at the end of the round, you should have 9 stitches. For round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets into our first 2 stitches. And then an increase into our third stitch. For rounds 5 and 6, you're going to do single crocheting around, so that's 2 rows of just single crochet. Okay, so now that we've made the ears, we're going to make the coils for the flowers and for the hair. So to start this off, we're going to do a slip knot. And we're going to chain 15. Okay, so now we're going to work back down our chain and we're going to do an increase into each stitch. You're going to do 5 of these, 2 for your hair color and 3 for the flowers. It's all the same process for doing both of them, it just depends how you coil them. If you can do the hair, you want to make it longer and tighter. If you're doing it for the flowers, you want to make it a lot fatter and flatter. So it looks like that for the flowers. And like that for the hair. Make sure you leave enough yarn left when snipping off for sewing it onto the head. Okay, so finally all we have to make now is the horn. So we're going to start with a magic ring with 6 single crochets. and then we're going to single crochet 5. For round 3, we're going to do an increase into our first stitch again. And then we're going to single crochet 6. For our 4th round, we're going to do an increase into our first stitch, and then do 7 single crochets. For round 5, we're going to do an increase into our first stitch, and then single crochet 8. For our last row of increasing, we're going to do an increase into our first stitch, and then single crochet 9. So now you should have 11 stitches, and you're going to do 2 rows of just single crochet. And do a slip stitch into your next stitch. Okay, so now we finished our horn. You can stuff it very lightly and we can put it all together now. Okay, so for placement I have put the horn right on top of the magic ring and the 2 ears very closely beside it. For the hair, I just put this one further up than this one again right next to the ear, and I just sewn these 3 very tightly together into the head. So you can place them however you want, but this is how I prefer to do it, and I've put in the keychain on top of the horn. I hope this was really nice to follow and very easy. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.